I'm going to call this like a self-audit that you can do on your own business. But as you're going through this, I want you to make notes of where you feel like you are definitely, missing the boat. And it's okay. We all do it. Okay. But that's the purpose of these trainings, to learn, to make changes, to step into action, to implement things that you learn. I'm going to share with you a little like behind the scenes of what I do when you jump on a free audit call with me. And this is something that you can do on your own. However, the really cool thing when we do this together on that call is that I actually am showing you and giving you personalized tips on where to close these gaps that you're going to find in your audit, so that you can fast track growing and scaling your business. I'm going to call this like a self-audit that you can do on your own business. But as you're going through this, I want you to make notes of where you feel like you are definitely, missing the boat. And it's okay. We all do it. Okay. But that's the purpose of these trainings, to learn, to make changes, to step into action, to implement things that you learn. Here's why this is important, because most of us as entrepreneurs, especially when we're newer to our business, but even some of us that are veteran entrepreneurs like myself, I've been in business for myself now for 16 years. Hype Media has been around for that long. And I know that what happens many times is that we jump from trend to trend, right? From strategy to strategy, because we see somebody else doing it and it seems to be working really well for them. And so what happens is we lose focus and we don't build foundations needed in our business in order to build a strong foundation for our business to grow and scale. And when that happens, our business collapses. Okay. We don't want that to happen. So what I'm sharing with you, these are not like, come and go strategies, trendy strategies. This is actually something that you can take for the lifetime of your business. Okay. But the thing is if you are missing any of these pieces, that's when things begin to collapse. All right. So let's dive in to what I want to share with you. Let's pretend that your business is your home. Okay. Now we know when you build a home, there needs to be a foundation. And the foundation to building a business is to committing to building a business that creates ripples of impact. However, you can't create ripples of impact without the walls in your home. And once those walls are created, that's where you create a profitable, in-demand personal brand, right? Your roof stays on and your house is not going to collapse. So there are 4 major pillars or walls to this home that you want to build, which I'm using a home as your business. Okay, that's the analogy for your business. Number 1 is your brand positioning and visibility. And we're going to dive into each of these in just a second. But that's the first one. This is crucial. And this is something that people miss all of the time. Okay. Positioning is what sets the stage for everything else. It's what allows people to know who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them. So I can't tell you how many times I do a brand audit and I'll go to somebody's personal profile on Facebook, for example, and their cover image, I can't even tell really what it is. Or if I can tell what it is, it has nothing to do with them or with their business. It doesn't tie both together. And what I want you to know is that an expert as the personal brand in your business, which you are, everybody has a personal brand. It's you as the human in your business. Okay. It's just many of us don't actually have it created and wrapped up nicely in a way that people connect our human self with what it is that we do. So what we're doing is we're separating, and then that causes confusion. And then that also does not allow you to stand out because we're marketing ourselves over here just like a business, like everyone else is doing. And we're forgetting that people are actually buying us as the brand, not buying the business. Right. So what we want to do is we want to bring these together, and that starts with your positioning. And so when you are able to get really clear on what you do, who you do it for, and why it matters, and you're able to differentiate yourself from your competitors with your positioning, that's where you start to build trust because it's reflecting the level of expertise and authority that you actually want to portray. Okay. So it starts with brand positioning and visibility. The second piece to this is your marketing, but you can't market yourself, but many do. They try to, but it fails. You can't really market yourself successfully if your brand positioning and visibility isn't there, right? So if you're posting on social media and you're telling people that you are like the best, let's say, business coach, but nowhere in your positioning do people get the idea that you're actually a business coach, maybe only on your business page, but not on your personal profile. You're not sharing anything, any human element of you as a business coach. There's a disconnect here and your marketing is not going to work. Okay. The next part is your lead generation. You can't successfully attract leads if your marketing isn't together. And before your marketing comes your positioning, right? If you're really struggling generating leads, you need to go back, you need to check your positioning, how visible you are, your marketing, and then you're going to get a good idea why your lead generation's not working. And then in order to make sales, we need leads. Right? So this is usually what I am seeing. And the good thing is that there's a way to fix this, right? We don't want the house to collapse so far to the ground that you end up wanting to throw in the towel. And that's what many of us do. But we do that because we have not built these pillars or these walls in our home yet, at least not successfully. There's a lot of gaps. You see that? And this is just an example. Some of you may have no positioning and you feel like your marketing is up here, but it's not generating leads or sales because you have no positioning, right? So what we want to do is we want to balance all these. So how do we do that? Let's start with your positioning. So when we work with our clients, whether we are doing this for them and with them, and we are co-creating this business marketing system for them, or I'm teaching them, these are all of the pillars that we really want to go through. Let's talk about your brand tone and your personality. Do you even know what that is, right? Like, I'm going to tell you straight up. Mine is very no BS, no fluff. I'm very blunt. I'm kind of quirky. I'm a little salty and sassy sometimes, but with lots of love. And that's just how my brand tone and my personality is. And it's reflected in my messaging. If you're trying to portray yourself as something else and it's a disconnect to you as a human being, your marketing is not really going to succeed and your positioning is going to be way off and it's going to be very confusing. So that is something that you definitely want to work on. You want to know exactly who are your dream clients. Like, it's not just how old are they? Are they college graduates? Are they high school graduates? Do they have a master's? Do they have kids? Are they married, divorced? No, we want to dive deeper. Okay. With that comes your actual visible positioning. So what do I mean by that? Making sure that your bio is optimized, that your personal profile on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and all these places is optimized. Everything is filled in. Everything is very clear. There are call to actions, right? How you're showing up in your positioning. Then we move on to your marketing. So what happens is many of us, we don't have these things down. We're still trying to figure out who our dream client is. We're still trying to figure out how to show up and position ourselves because we're way too stuck in our heads. And, everything is very like vanilla, right? So you want to think to yourself on a scale from 1 to 4, do I have my brand tone and personality down? Do I know exactly who my dream client is? Okay. This takes some time to figure out. The best way that you can figure it out, honestly, is by putting offers out there, by getting on calls with people, by having actual conversations with people and asking a lot of questions. Ask yourself on a scale from 1 to 4, do you feel like your positioning is exactly or close to how you want people to perceive you? Are your profiles optimized? Okay. Then we move on, like I said, to the marketing part of this. It's your messaging, not just your messaging in your content, but your offer messaging is really important. Your content pillars, right? So when we're talking about content, and by the way, content is not just social media content, okay? Content includes the words that come out of our mouths when we are networking with people. It includes emails that we draft. It includes articles. It includes text messages. It includes what we say in videos. All of that is content, right? We want to understand what are our content pillars that we want to focus on. And then what's the type of content marketing that we're going to put out there? So I will say the strongest piece of content or type of content right now that you need to be doing, it's not a should I do it or should I not do it, but it's a must have if you really want to make these social media platforms work for you and to attract leads and to really fast track your personal brand elevation. It's video. So think about your content marketing. Where are you communicating your knowledge, your expertise, your case studies, testimonials, your proof of work, storytelling, all of that kind of stuff. And part of marketing is also networking and collaboration. Okay. So on a scale from 1 to 4, do you have these pieces of your marketing like solid? Because if not, it's going to look like this. Okay. The next piece to this is your lead generation. Do you have resources where you are attracting leads to you? Are you creating activation posts online to get people to raise their virtual hands? It may be time for you to run paid traffic ads for lead generation. Are you connecting with people in the DMs? That is a part of lead generation. And lead magnets, by the way, it could be a downloadable resource, but it can also be a free workshop. It can be a masterclass. It could be a recorded training. There's so many ways to create these lead magnets. So again, it does not have to be overly complicated, and you don't have to build funnels in order for a lead magnet to work. Although it is helpful, but that should not stop you from actually creating a way to bring in leads into your pipeline. Because here's the thing, we want to move people away from the platforms where we are interacting with them, where we're doing our positioning, where we are putting out our marketing. We want to then move them off of these platforms into places like our email database, our SMS database, because we don't own these platforms, right? But we do own those things. We do own our email database, for example. And then it's sales. So do you have your sales structure? Do you have your offers stacked, right? Like the different offers, different access to you, different products, that sort of thing. And the message for those offers. Are you creating conversion events? If you have a physical product, you can still do conversion events. And what I mean by conversion events, I'm talking about also events like masterclasses, workshops. They can be paid or they can be free. Are you getting people on sales calls? For us, we bring you on and we do a free audit call. And I do share how I can continue to support you. I think it would be pretty selfish of me to give you all of this information and then leave you hanging with how to actually help you to support you in moving forward. But it's a no pressure call and inside of DMs. So on a scale from 1 through 4, do you feel like you have all of this solid? All right. I hope that's helpful. I will see you guys back here. And until then, remember to stay social. Bye, guys.